In Canada, it would be like just a can. Hey, I'm a can. Or a can, or even a canny. I don't know. The English and French spoken in Canada has really taken on a life of its own, with various terms and slang used solely in the country. Yet the Canadian term we are looking into today is one of the words they use for themselves, that being the demonym of Canuck. This is a word used to describe someone from the nation of Canada. It's in no way their official demonym, that title belongs to just the word of Canadian. It's a more jovial term for these people, similar to the word Kiwi used for residents of New Zealand. Yeah, technically they actually call New Zealanders, but no one ever uses that term. So how exactly did the people from the nation deeply linked with moose, maple syrup and all things friendly end up with the title of Canuck? But before we look into its origin, I have to admit something. I might have just lied to you. I said that Canuck is used for Canadians in general, and that might not exactly be true. There's some debate over this term, and who exactly it applies to. Some feel the term can be used for Canadians as a whole, while others think it's just a term for French Canadians. In its earliest usage, it's believed to be applied to Dutch and German Canadians. In this day and age, however, it seems like it could be applied to anyone from the country. Is the term offensive, however? Well, that's something we'll look into a little later. The earliest evidence we have for this term comes from 1835. However, it was spelt Canuck with a K at the start instead of a C and no C before that final K. However, it didn't stay that way for too long, as by 1849 we have evidence of the name being spelt as we know it today. The original K spelling of the word could help us understand this term's ultimate origin. We have two leading theories on where this word comes from. One is pretty obvious and the other is definitely a tad more left of centre, shall we say. Why don't we start with the more obvious idea first? I'm sure you can see for yourself that the word Canuck is pretty similar to the word of Canada itself, and according to one theory, that isn't a coincidence by any means. Some believe that Canuck is simply a diminutive form of Canada or Canadian. This might seem a bit odd at first, like how did Canada become Canuck? But it's actually fairly common for a country's name to acquire a diminutive form for its residents. Think of something like the term Brit for someone from Britain, or Aussie for someone from Australia. Canuck could have come into being in the same way these terms did, as just a more endearing term for someone from the land. It's thought that the uk at the end might be an Algonquin noun suffix, hence why we don't see it in many other diminutive demonyms. Yeah, like there's not many Algonquin speakers in the UK, so you don't get Brushhook or anything like that. That's quite a uniquely Canadian thing to say the least. But I'm wondering maybe what if they did get a different kind of the diminutive demonym, something like just a can or just a canny, like how we have Brit. If it was just Brit in Canada, it would be like just a can. Hey, I'm a can. Or a can, or even a canny. I don't know. It could have been something else entirely, but no, we got Canuck instead, according to this theory. This means that Canuck's ultimate origins lie in the origin of the word Canada itself, and this is a country name we've covered in a video before. Explained briefly, however, Canada derives from the Iroquois word of Kanata, which simply means settlement. Kanata eventually became Canada as we know it today, and as you can see, the word shifted from starting with a K to starting with a C, which might explain why Canuck started being spelled with a C instead of a K too. That idea makes all the sense in the world, right? And while that might be the most believed theory, there is another idea out there. One that claims the term Canuck doesn't derive from Canada, the mainland USA, or even from Europe. This theory claims that Canuck is actually Hawaiian in origin. But before we check out that potential Hawaiian origin of the term, I need to say a huge thank to my most recent patrons. So thank you to new patrons Nicholas Girard and Ingrid Carlton. Patron is the best way to financially support Name Explain, and donating just $1 a month gets you ad-free videos, a chance to say what names get explained, an exclusive monthly newsletter, and your name at the end of these videos. All of that can be found at patreon.com/Name Explain, which will be linked down below. Conversely, if you want to just make a one-time donation, you can leave a super thanks directly in the comments section of any of my videos here on YouTube. They help out tremendously too. Thank you. Anyway, I believe we were talking about how this incredibly Canadian term might actually be Hawaiian, right? Well, this theory states that the word's ultimate origins are instead with the Hawaiian word for humans, Kanaka. On a surface level, this makes some sense. Canadians are humans after all, and it once again starts with a K, which can explain to us why Canuck once did too. But how did the Hawaiian term for humans end up being adapted for just the humans in the second largest country on Earth? Well, it's kind of a roundabout story. On the west coast of the USA, Kanaka became linked with just Hawaiian people. On the east coast, however, it was a different story entirely. For obvious geographic reasons, not many Hawaiians reached the east coast of the USA back in the 1800s, yet that word of Kanaka still found its way over there. On the east coast, however, Kanaka didn't refer to Hawaiians. It was instead used for anyone of foreign, non-American ancestry. And a friendly reminder, this would have included Hawaiians too, as the islands didn't become a state until 1959. And from here, it makes logical sense as to how it got applied to people from the foreign country north of the USA, especially for those Canadians who seem more foreign to Americans, the ones who spoke French or may have been of indigenous ancestry. This makes geographic sense too, as the primarily French-speaking part of Canada is on the east coast of North America. They would have been called Kanaka, and eventually that would have formed into the word Canuck and been applied to just Canadians. It's a really unexpected origin for the word, but many people actually put more credence on this idea than the idea it's just a diminutive of Canada. But the last thing we need to ask is that question of, is this an offensive term or not? And the answer seems to be maybe in some contexts. Well, from what I gather, the term may have started life as somewhat derogative, being used towards people in a mean way, but since its inception, it seems to have become way more accepted. I read that it's okay for Canadians to use it, but it can be rude if a non-Canadian calls a Canadian a Canuck. I think it's a bit of a case-by-case scenario. If you are offended by this term, however, I am super sorry for using it so much during the course of this video. Like, genuinely, this is just me bumbling about it. It turns out I've been saying this highly offensive term, and I've upset the entire nation of Canada this entire time. I'm so sorry. Forgive me? Yeah, cool, thank you. But it also seems to be a term that Canada has really taken in its stride and adopted for itself. This can be seen with characters like Johnny Canuck, a Canadian folklore hero and even a comic character who's come to symbolise Canada, somewhat like the USA's Uncle Sam. Then there's also Captain Canuck, a Canadian superhero, and of course there's the Vancouver Canucks, the popular ice hockey team. It really does seem like the nation uses the term with pride. Yet, at the end of the day, I'm not Canadian, and I've never been to Canada, unfortunately. If you're watching from the nation, please let me know the reality of this term. And of course, please suggest a topic down below which we could cover in next Monday's Name Explained video. It could be about literally anything, and the topic can be as niche or broad as you like. I will then choose 3 of those topics and place them in a poll for my patrons to vote on. Then the winner from the poll will be the topic covered in next Monday's Name Explained video. Just a quick side note, I really enjoy talking about Canada. I feel like I don't talk about Canada enough in these videos. If you've got any kind of Canada ideas for videos, just leave them as well, because Canada's fun. It's a cool country to talk about. So yeah, Canadian ideas, why not? Yeah, but anyway, you can vote in that poll as well as enjoy many other great benefits by visiting patreon.com/nameexplain, which will be linked down below, and by donating just $1 a month. Thank you. Anyway, that's more than enough from myself, but don't forget to go follow me on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT, and don't forget to join the Facebook page, Friends of Name Explain, where you can chat with myself and many other name nerds. Okay all, take care. I think we're all in focus. Yeah? Should we talk about Canadians for a bit? Let's do it. Canuck. Let's find out how this goes. But before we look at... Well, my button finger hurts. I was grating some carrots yesterday and I grated myself a little bit. But this is a tough old job, you know. Dangerous workplace we've got running here. But it's actually fairly common for a country name to acquire. Quite a Canadian thing to say the least. But maybe it could instead... That went weird at the end there. Ook suffix at the end might have come on and it once again starts with a K, which can explain to us why Canuck did once too. Did once too? I'm not Yoda. Yet that word of... Why did I get that wrong? My brain's not working now.